This is my latest project, a PDA using the hybrid e-ink OLED technology I developed in my last project video. I really like the idea of dedicated electronic devices with no distractions. The intention for this device is to be able to take quick notes and do basic tasks on the go. What you see here is the early stages of the software where simple words and sentences can be typed out and displayed on the screen. In the future, a visual operating system will make the experience more seamless and enjoyable. In this video, I'll delve into the design for the electronics of the device and the assembly of the PCB. The circuit board was designed in KiCad. Here's the 3D model that I generated. And if we head over to the schematic, you can see the main systems. This is the keyboard matrix IC that kind of runs all of the keyboard operations. It just runs on I2C. It's pretty simple. You just need a few pull-up resistors and a decoupling capacitor for it. This is the ESP32 itself. Again, just a couple decoupling capacitors. I have some buttons for the boot and reset little kind of keys. And then just the hookups for the USB and a few other odds and ends. And then the power system is powered by the AMS 1117 3.3 volt regulator, and this is a diode for load sharing. So when you plug in the USB, it powers the device and charges the battery, but when there's no USB plugged in, it just gets powered from the battery itself. And then we just have a voltage divider using two resistors for the battery voltage. Down here is a USB Type-C connector. I am using two 5.1K pull-down resistors on CC1 and CC2. That is to tell the powering device that this wants 5 volts, and this allows the charging circuit to work with USB-C to USB-C, as well as USB-A to USB-C. For the battery management system, I'm using the MCP7383 IC. And this, again, just needs like a diode. This is an LED for charging status, a pull-down resistor, a pull-down capacitor, decoupling capacitor. Pretty simple. I have installed a magnetic hinge sensor, so when the device is complete, I'll be able to put a magnet in the top of the hinge and tell if it's open or closed. The OLED is a simple, I think it's SSH1116, and it's SCL and SDA, so it's I2C, and then there's a power switch. And if we head over to the PCB layout, you can see I've chosen a 4-layer design, so layer 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first layer houses mostly the buttons and just a couple of traces. The second layer is mostly the vertical columns of the buttons, and then also a couple odd traces that I needed to route through the fourth layer. Third layer covers, again, some other routing stuff, and it also serves as a ground plane. And the fourth layer houses most of the power circuitry, as well as a lot of copper areas to dissipate heat a little bit better. And then I've also allowed a rule zone here on the top left to kind of keep out any copper from the copper fills, so that the antenna can function as intended, because the copper tends to block the connection to the antenna. And then this cutout is for some resistors and capacitors that are on the back of the OLED. Every component is mounted to the back of the PCB. This is the front, and then the back has everything. I've done this because JLCPCB, it's much cheaper to have a one-sided assembly as opposed to two-sided. So I've chosen to put all the components on one side to cut costs. After my design was finished, I got the PCBs ordered through this video sponsor. This video is sponsored by JLCPCB, who now offer 1 to 8 layer PCBs starting at $2. PCB orders have a lead time as low as 24 hours and benefit from a strict quality control. JLCPCB is trusted by 5.4 million customers worldwide. I use JLCPCB all the time, and their instant quote generation and user-friendly ordering process makes it really easy for electronics hobbyists to get into PCB design. Right now, JLC is offering massive Black Friday discounts and giveaways with savings up to $250 through December 15th. Visit my link in the description to learn more and receive $80 in new user coupons. So here's the completed board with the USB-C and kind of populated with all of the things that need to be on there. The idea was that you just take one of these ESP32 S3s and you just solder it on and then it's ready to go. The board would have been about $50 more expensive to put the ESP32 on there from JLC, so I just left it separately. And it's also designed to work with one of these standard flip phone style batteries. This is just a lithium ion battery or lithium polymer battery. And I believe it's about 1800 milliamps, so pretty big. And then it just slots in that kind of spring connector right there. Okay, attaching it to the back with some tape and cardboard, you can see how it meshes with that spring connector. And if I grab a USB-C, then I can plug it in and a little LED lights up to indicate charging. And this LED will turn off when it's done charging. And as you can see as well, this does work with C to C, not just USB-A to USB-C. And something I noticed while testing the low dropout 3.3 volt regulator that I'm using here for the ESP32, I believe it's the AMS1117. It works while connected to wall power 5 volts from the USB. Like you can see here, it outputs the correct 3.3 volts. But if I unplug the wall power and test the voltage on battery power, we can see that I'm only getting around 3.07 volts. So that's not quite up to what we need, which is 3.3 volts, and I figured out why this was as well. Even though the battery is completely full, it's at 4.2 volts. So here's the regulator on the PCB itself, the AMS1117. And if I pull up the datasheet for this, we can see pretty quickly what the issue was. So if I edit this right here and zoom in or highlight the voltage dropout, is 1.2 volts at 1 amp. So what's happening here is that we have our LiPo battery, right? And it's around 3.7 volts nominally. And when it's completely full, it's around 4.2 volts. So we can begin to see the problem here, that even at max voltage, if you subtract the voltage dropout of 1.2 from the max voltage, you only get 3 volts. So at maximum, we're getting about 3 volts at an amp. And we're getting a little bit more than that because we're not drawing quite as much current. But this is still a problem because this chip won't be able to output that full 3.3 volts that we need. And for 3.7 subtracting, we're going to get even lower. We're going to get 2.5 volts, and that's very bad. That's definitely not enough. It also makes sense though how we can get the full 3.3 volts from the USB power, because when provided with 5 volts, subtracting 1.2, we still get greater than 3.3 volts. We get around 3.8, so that's more than enough for the LDO to drop that down to 3.3. So it makes sense why we're still getting the 3.3 on wall power. Luckily, I had on hand another random 3.3 voltage regulator. This is the ADP3338, and if we take a look at the data sheet for this one, if I could actually edit it, it actually has a very low dropout voltage, about 190 millivolts. So even with our battery voltage, it's only dropping about 0.2 volts. So if we take our 3.7 from our battery and subtract 0.2, we're still gonna get 3.5. So we're gonna be good there. That's gonna be greater than our 3.3, and we're gonna be able to drop it down. So we're gonna switch out this old LDO with the new one. And even if I scroll in the datasheet, we find that they're the same exact package, and they even have the same pin out. So luckily, I don't have to change the circuit board at all. I just swap it out, unsolder the old one, and solder in the new one. Somehow my local library has a hot air station that you can check out, so I use that, and I replace the part pretty easily. Once the new regulator was in place, all that I had to do was solder on the ESP32. I'll put some Wii music over it so it seems interesting. After that, surprisingly, everything worked straight out of the box. The first thing I tested was the charging circuit, and the big deal about this is that it has an uninterrupted power supply, which means when you plug in or unplug the device, the power is uninterrupted and the code on the ESP32 continues to run. Next, the dome switches were added by securing them under a sticker. And now the electronics assembly is done and the buttons work great. Please join me in the next video as I continue working on this project. And as always, have a good day.